Protest ye power nuclear, it's something to dismay. Remember Fukushima went molten on this day, to show us all atomic power can really go astray. There are tidings of sorrow and fear, sorrow and fear. There are tidings of sorrow and fear. Built on fault and coastal lines so we can live so well, but earthquake and tsunami create a living hell. We cannot take such chances shown and pleasantly here dwell. There are tidings of sorrow and fear, sorrow and fear. There are tidings of sorrow and fear. Yeah. Lemon tree, oh so pretty, and the lemon flower is sweet, but the fruit of the lemon is impossible to eat. San Onofre is a lemon, and its poison is no treat. Breakdowns are common, nuclear power obsolete. We don't need nuclear power, and its presence we resent, as we wait hour by hour for another accident. We don't want a power plant full of radiation. We want other energy, such as power from the sun. So whatever can we do? Demand a change in policy. Find a safer energy that would bring us back to no, 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 no. We don't want an accident like what happened in Japan. Leaks, explosions will occur. San Onofre we should ban. So whatever can we do? Demand a change in policy. Demand the plants to go shut down. Get the power back to you.
Mostly, from my point of view, an activist. She's the chair of the Progressive Democrats of America, which is the left wing of the Democratic wing of the Democratic Party, they say, and so she has been an activist in many, many respects, including environmental, but also she is an actress in her own right, has done a lot of acting both on television and in theater and in the motion picture industry, most recently in the movie Midnight in Paris as the sort of right-winger, uptight, not like Mimi at all, Helen in the movie. Yeah, that was her role. But that's a good movie, by the way. If you haven't seen it yet, check out Midnight in Paris. I really like that one. So let's give a round of applause to Mimi Kennedy from the Hollywood area and Progressive Democrats of America.
I want to thank everybody who's put this together. This is really fantastic. Marion Pack, who invited me, and Ray. I'm very moved by the presence of our Japanese activist friends. And you will see why. I took this so seriously. I haven't spoken on this issue before, not because I didn't want to. I've said for 20 years if I ever stood on the hustings for anything, it would be against nuclear power and nuclear weapons. And here I am at last. written my story down, and I hope it stands. And as an actress, I'll hope to read it dramatically, as I would generally just speak from my heart. But this is my first time. I need to tell this story, and you'll understand why I was so good at playing that uptight Republican in Midnight in Paris. All right. My father, Daniel Gerald Kennedy, fought in the Pacific in World War II. He was told the Japanese were his enemy. He spent a lifetime explaining his guilt to me about the dropping of the atom bombs. But he said, and he believed, because he was taught, that it saved hundreds of thousands of American and Japanese lives. Other than that, he never talked about the war. He was traumatized by the violence, and he wouldn't even see violent movies. In the 60s, he was a prominent lawyer in Rochester, New York, and he was appointed counsel for our gas and electric company, which built a nuclear power plant on Lake Ontario. And I remember his excitement because it was the future, he said. He had known the litigation about coke, sludge, and acid rain, and coal burning, and the smokestack scrubbers, and old energy was dirty, and nuclear power was clean. There would be no litigation aspects that you could really see. He said there was a little power about the waste. But there were these salt caves in Nevada, and at any rate, private business, and our gas and electric company was a private company. Private business knew best how to dispose of the waste and what to do. The government mustn't get involved because the government always messed things up. This was in the day when Eisenhower, shortly after he had alerted us, the military-industrial complex, and he was right about that, would mess things up. So my true believing father, my Harvard law-educated father, who had been the editor of a humor magazine in college and caught the eye of the New Yorker magazine editors, my man of letters father, drew the atom on his dinner napkin for us. And he was so excited about it. He had become Mr. Wizard for his own kids. And at that point, I knew at age 12 or 13, whatever I was, something was wrong here. My father wasn't a scientist, and somebody was pulling the wool over his eyes. I knew it to my toes, the top of my head and the tip of my toes. And it was the Atomic Energy Commission in Washington, where he had gone as general counsel to listen about atomic energy. Now, I think you all know that because of Washington, the nuclear energy industry got a pass on liability. Should anything go wrong, there wasn't enough money in any of the energy industries, to pay off the damages that would ensue. So they asked the nuclear power plants to put together a little pool of about $6 billion. No private insurer would insure for against nuclear accidents. So the insurers of record are us. They call it the government, but what's the government? It's us. We, the taxpayers, will insure for nuclear evacuations, accidents, cancer, birth defects, and the loss of agriculture on into the century. Tell your Tea Party friends and relatives. Imagine what that will do to the deficit and the budget. That is the state of affairs. Now, why, given the financial, would we even think about making more power plants, let alone licensing the ones we have. It's crazy. That's the financial part. But the moral part, what we are doing to the DNA, the RNA, the genetic blueprint of this earth on which we depend, is so immoral. It's murder, and it's mass murder. Fellow Japanese, that was really going on. My Japanese daughter-in-law, she has been in our family a year, and I love her dearly, and her family is west of the mountains in Akita Prefecture. But she tells me about her friends in Miyagi and Sendai and Tokyo. She told me about those little Geiger counters that everybody has. And I have an 8-month-old grandson. As I said, the great-grandson my father never even imagined he would have is Japanese-American. And these stories of mothers and fathers begging to know what's going on to their little ones at this vulnerable stage of their explosive growth into adult human beings is heartbreaking. And that is just the structure of their own bodies. Imagine what the future generations that are affected by this radiation will have to endure almost without explanation unless we keep this story going. That is why I'm here. This is murder. This is wrong. It is theological, and it is about the earth, because we're about the earth, man and woman and child. Thank you for letting me be here.